So watching this episode while at work is the straight edge equivalent of like this guy I knew used to do DMT on his breaks at work.
I love to hear that.
So like a 30-minute like escaping reality type. I don't know how you return. This was a Kroger grocery. Like, how do you reconcile the meaningless job like that we had after like?
I am really happy that like my first official podcast like episode I've ever been on, DMT was immediately mentioned.
Oh, interesting.
In true Joe Rogan fashion.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right,
legally,
first things first, DMT already like just there.
It's legally required because of Joe Rogan. Honeys, we're home.
Hello, and welcome to Sinclairity, a Dinosaurs Tale. This is episode 8. I am your host. We're gonna need another Timmy, along with my co-host.
I'm Ben Handupme.
Ben Handupme.
Tim, I think a door closed in the background right when you were doing your read, so I think we're good.
Does it sound fine?
Yeah, I mean that's.
Okay.
I was worried we were going to have an actual good intro for a minute, so I'm glad that happened.
Well, welcome to the podcast. We also have a guest today, our second guest ever on the show. The episode that came out the week before was supposed to have a guest, but it didn't. So, this episode was too good not to get a guest. So,
was it though? Because that's the real question.
So this
episode is not great.
So you're hearing the voice of the drummer from Paranorman Dance Party.
Paranorman. This
isn't my fault. I needed to know what projects you were part of. Current Scatoon Network, I think, in a way. Jer.
I recorded drums for Jer. I recorded drums for
awesome.
Scatoon Network. I am a C-level Josh Freese. I played drums for a bunch of bands. You may have seen me one time on tour with the Atom Age, Joystick. I'm like the ska version of Josh Freese, if that means anything to you.
Ska version of Josh Freese.
Woody's also in a band called Vacancy, which has members of my band and lots of people.
Awesome.
Yes, yeah. All 8 members of the Bay Area community scene are in about 65 bands together.
I'm glad that every scene is basically the same in that way. Then, it's like a March Madness thing where eventually it weeds it down to like the same 8 people who don't have jobs that forbid it. I guess I don't know what the actual I was gonna say like talent and like networking, but I think it's mostly the ability to do as many things as they can without dying.
Well, what's really funny is like in Baltimore, the same group of people like hit 3 consecutive home runs as bands. Members of Trapped in Their Ice were also in Turnstile and were also in Angel Dust.
Oh, nice!
And so it's just like bam, bam, bam. You're like everything they touch just wins. I'm like, all right, well, I'm in 65 ska bands, and I'm also in a hardcore band now.
Woody, should we give you like a nickname? Like we gave V had a nickname. Do you want a nickname for the show?
V gave herself not the VV.
Well, there goes option 1. I thought this is why I thought of this episode. My name is Woody Dino Bob Dylan Bond.
I love that dinosaur playing harmonica.
What's great is I have like the scripts for the episode, and when it gets to the scene with the Bob Dylan impersonating dinosaur, it says Bob Dylan impersonation in parentheses as if we fucking needed that information. Like as if we weren't immediately going to be like, all right.
Yeah. So Ben, what's the name of this episode, and do you have any like trivia or cool facts about it?
So this episode is called "I Never Ate for My Father," which is it was released October 2nd, 1991. It's clearly a reference to Finding Nemo, where the shark Bruce says, "I never knew my father." No, what's weird is like it sounds like it's supposed to be a reference to something, but I can't find anything that makes sense for this being a reference.
I was really hoping you would give me some sort of like clarity on that, because I was like,
Sinclairity.
I can log off right now if you want me to.
Is it like you think it's like a book or something? Or like
I assumed it was. I assumed like everything it's a reference to The Graduate, but it apparently is not.
How can 3 people with 3 college degrees not know what this means?
I don't know. I mean, you could probably just Google the phrase.
To be fair, I dropped out of high school, so I'm definitely I'm anchoring this down.
Really fun fact. Same.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Tim.
Yeah, you loser. Yeah, high school was dumb, so I stopped going, and then I went to college, and I crushed it. But yeah.
I did go to college when I was 16. Like, right, I was court ordered to get a GED and a job. It was really weird.
Yeah,
it's bizarre. But so this episode released October 2nd, 1991. It was written by Rob Yulin, who wrote the episodes Hurling Day and Howling, which are both episodes about Robbie bucking his dad's tradition. So this guy had daddy issues. Like, these are the only 2 episodes he wrote before this one, and they're like all the same theme. And then it was directed by Tom Tribovic, who has too many consonants in his last name. And we've seen him for Hurling Day and High Noon and Golden Child. I'm really enjoying that after a full season of recording episodes, we finally decided to start naming like the director and writer per episode, because it does give us some perspective.
It's funny because like it's weird that he wrote all the episodes where Robbie is so defiant, but that it's pretty consistent though with Robbie's character regardless who wrote the episode. I feel like
a teenage son is easy to write for, I feel like, in that way. Like, it's not like his character is going to just... I mean, there are the teenage sons who we all went to school with at some point who do love to be just like their dad and want to tell you how their dad could beat up your dad or whatever, but it doesn't sell on television that well.
Yeah.
That's a Biff-type personality.
Would we consider this a what they call in the biz a very special episode?
I don't think so. This episode so also, if you want to know what's like be inside my chronically anxious brain, I was like, so why did they ask me to do this episode? What's the reason for this? And I was like, is it because this is like maybe a vegan metaphor, or is it just because they ran out of episodes to have friends on and they just invited me because they ran out of friends? And so I'm like so paranoid about why, and I'm like, what? But this episode made less sense as it went on, and I don't understand how I was overthinking this episode this much, because it was just I wouldn't say it was very special nor special. I would say if I was not asked to dissect it on a podcast, I would have turned it off in like 5 minutes.
honestly Woody, I just because remember I saw you last weekend and I asked if you wanted to be on the show, and this just happened to be the episode. Like, I had no idea this was going to be the next episode. In fact, Issa was the one that pointed out to me.
I was going to blame Issa too.
She's like, is that the one where they catch Robbie with the broccoli? I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I thought it was I thought it was like the steroids episode, which is a little bit further on, but it turns out that I forgot everything about this episode.
I also had no idea there was an episode about steroids. There's like, so I know I watched Dinosaurs a lot when I was younger, because I know I did. But apparently I watched it and just absorbed about zero information from my entire life watching it, because I remember, I don't know what episode this is, so when this episode comes up, let me know, and I will make sure to like listen to it. It was an episode where the dad was like gonna be eaten by like a corporate executive, And
Yeah.
and then he goes, "Did you do this today?" He goes, "No." "Okay, well, I'm gonna enjoy this nowhere near as much." And I use that line at least once a week, and I have since I saw it when I was a kid. And so I've been working that one quote in for about 25 years. And no one gets it, and no one knows where it's from, and like I don't even really know where it's from because I know it's somewhere in the series.
I think it's in this season. I think Employee of the Month, maybe. I'm not sure.
So I had an experience similar to this recently where I met somebody and we were kind of like making small talk for like a half hour, and then he asked me my last name and I said Idol, and he's like, "Oh, you're the poutine guy," and I was like, "Am I? Like, is that who I am?" I wasn't sure what was happening, and then he said, "Yeah, a couple years ago on Facebook, you posted." That's not poutine, that's my wife.
Oh my god.
And he said he's been quoting it every week since, and nobody laughs ever. I'm like, that's how I feel. But I had to look this up, and I did post it, and I was not friends with this guy on Facebook, so I don't know.
I love, you know what's funnier than you telling this story, Ben, is you totally told this story on like another episode.
Was it already? Oh, you know what? I thought beforehand, I was like, have I said this on the podcast yet? I think I said it like before the episode started.
Like the people that get famous off of like one Facebook post, that is such a cool level of fame because you know every single person has seen that post, but no one knows anything about you.
Oh yeah,
like, yeah. Stove did that post of if the Beatles were so popular or so influential, why weren't they on the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater soundtrack? Yeah. And that post was shared like a lot. I want to say like tens of thousands of times. And I now see it with Stove's name just cropped out of it. Like, it's just the text. And I'm like,
that's fucked up.
So famous.
It's a great, like,
Always
that's pretty much an analog to, like, the Peanuts comic with Lucy saying, like, if Beethoven's so famous, why isn't he on, like, a baseball card or whatever it is? A bubblegum card? I had the one where I said McRib stands for MCR is back, and I posted it a year before the reunion, and then it blew up for no reason, and people, it was shared like 500,000 times, and then people kept tagging me and like people stealing it, and I was like, I don't care, I don't remember saying those words.
The only thing like that I've had recently was I started posting on Twitter again, and I saw a photo of Tucker Carlson, and like Tucker Carlson like looks right in the camera, and all of his thumbnails are just him looking confused and angry. And I posted on Twitter and said, seeing Tucker Carlson's face on YouTube, it reminds me of like when I was working in retail and I had to tell someone that their coupon didn't work. And it was just like people kept sharing it. I'm like, no, stop sharing it. I don't want people to see this. I just want to say it out loud for myself.
My favorite thing is when you see a semi-viral Facebook post and then there's an edit where the person's like, wow, this really took off. So anyway, my Instagram is this, and my I love that so much. Or like local comedians will like start selling t-shirts on Threadless with some dumb shit they said on Facebook.
That was I mean, you gotta strike while the iron's hot. Like I keep sharing any news article about anything I'm associated, because not being able to play music for like 8 months to a year is stressing me out.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, remember me? Remember your friend Woody? He's still doing things.
In my head when you were saying that, I heard Freeze Up by Operation Ivy, but like Joss Freeze. I think like there's a freeze up coming about you not getting to play drums. Yeah, my friend Mike Brody was finally making money just doing stand-up comedy right before this hit. Like he was just it was his full-time job, and then he bought like thousands of CDs because they were selling really well on like cruise tours for something. Like he did a bunch of cruises, and then now he's just online like, I need a job that I can do from home. I need something. Like, it sucks. I feel bad.
Well, what's really funny is like Facebook reminded me yesterday that a year ago I was in New York City playing drums with Steven Universe at New York Comic Con, and I was like,
So
I remember distinctly, I was like, all right, I can't lose this momentum, everybody. I'm gonna keep working at it. And then, wouldn't you know it, the world just stopped turning, and so I was just like, all right,
In New York, that's so Alan Jackson-esque.
I was like, well, I guess I'll keep recording. But I was like, I saw it, I was just like, man, I'm really glad I didn't say that out loud so everyone could laugh at me, or I could look back, a year after this happens and being, whoa,
Yeah.
not so fast there, Woody.
Just did not age well.
Well, Woody will always have the memory of our last show, which you were there with me on March 15th.
The last show where I sold Tim a drum set, and Tim has not played it since.
It's sitting right there. It's just sitting right in front of me.
Didn't you get to play drums recently at Woody's house, and then you came home damaged?
Yeah,
Like,
I
did
hurt
you really?
myself. I really hurt myself. My body was wrecked. I don't know if it was from the week before, or I blame it on our bed and our pillows, but my whole body was destroyed the next day.
Yeah, I was like, is it a good pain? And you're just like, no, it's not good.
I love how because Issa's in my D&D campaign, and Tim just messaged me going, hey, can I come and play your drums while you guys play D&D? I was like, yeah, sure. And then you came in, I showed you where it was, and I didn't see you for 2 hours. You just straight just playing on my electronic kit.
I was trying to remember if I still knew how to play some of our songs.
It reminded me of me when I was younger being like, can I use your pool? It's hot.
Yeah,
but in the best way, because I also you can see behind me, I have there's a steel drumming frame, there's a drum set, and then there's the kit that Tim was playing over here, and there's also a piano. So I essentially live in a shoe, because all my gear is just closing in on me.
Oh yeah, my room became I just started focusing on trying to hang stuff from the walls. You can't really see it in this webcam view, but on my right wall I have a bunch of records and dinosaur paraphernalia and trombones. I have multiple trombones hanging on my wall, and 4 guitars and 2 basses, and it's I have maybe 3 square feet of actual floor in my room. And I have a very clean room. It's very neat and tidy. It's just I have so much stuff. I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we should get into the episode. If you
Do you want to a quick summary or whatever of it?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's I saved this summary I found. I think I found this somewhere. It says Earl insists Robbie isn't acting carnivorous enough, so the teen stages a protest by becoming gasp a vegetarian.
A veggie.
An herbo.
Herbo.
Both are used throughout the episode. Veggio and herbo are. So I listened to this episode of a podcast called Gayest Episode Ever, where they go and they find gay episodes of sitcoms. And it was interesting listening to this, their episode about this, because for one, I found myself way more defensive of dinosaurs than I thought I ever would be. Considering the background of the show, Tim has seen all the episodes. I remember it vaguely, and I am not watching ahead. I'm only watching the episodes we're about to record. So I don't know. I got really defensive, and then I watched the episode, and it really is a mixed bag of they're throwing metaphors out every few minutes that just fall. They completely fuck the metaphor within seconds every time.
Maybe it was what you said about there was an older episode we did where you were talking about the writing and how it kind of seems kind of thrown together.
Yeah,
it definitely did seem like that. Yeah,
it's definitely one of those things where they gave one team the B story and one team an A story, and essentially they're just because this is mainly there's only one plot in this episode. It's not even an A story B story episode, so it just feels like they just had a whole bunch of jokes piling up that they wanted to make, and they didn't know how to really fit it together into one episode. So they're just all right, so Robbie, he's going to be interested in eating vegetables, it's weird because his sister is a protoceratops. I think is a herbivore technically, but she's a carnivore in this episode.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. We've talked about the evolution being very off with their family all being different species, and like,
yeah, it's very weird.
He's worried about his boss eating him in one episode. His boss is like a triceratops too. Like doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, so I guess this episode is essentially we like how does it start? Do you remember, Tim?
So yeah, it starts.
Oh, I remember.
Fran is making dinner, and the baby's in there and the baby finishes his bottle of meat, which I assume that's what he had like in the like second episode, and he finishes it, and is he just like hug? She's like, "Are you hungry?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm hungry." She's like, "Well, you don't get another bottle till nighttime." He's like, "Well, it's sleepy. I'm tired. I want to go to bed." And she's like, "No," and he's like, "No, I want to go to bed." And God, he's the worst character. And
I maybe disagree, but keep going.
Earl's the worst character, but second worst would probably
Baby's just annoying. That's all.
Yeah.
He was the cash cow. He was the catchphrase king. Like he had the
mama, baby.
He's the Urkel of this show.
Yeah. So baby is hungry, and then all of a sudden he notices his tail, and he's like looking at his tail. He puts his tail in his mouth, and he's like sucking on it, and then he's like, "Oh, what if I take a bite out of it?"
So, like, I have notes, and a lot of my notes end in 3 or more question marks. And my first note after the intro is just the ET ride, and then the theme hits so hard. My first actual note is the tail. Why is it so long? The tail is at least 3 babies long. Like, there's no way that tail's growing that fast, or it came out that long. It's just bad writing, bad puppeteering. I know.
That's the thing, though, Woody.
I'm heated about that.
We talk about it in like the first episode where this baby is just born and just can talk and has like an understanding of the world around it and stuff like that. Like, it's just fucking weird.
Like, when I saw the tail creep up on that, I was like, how, like, and I'm starting to think about like the engineering of like this baby seat for a dinosaur, and I'm thinking, okay, so they have to put like the baby in first and like feed the tail through, I'm assuming, the back of this chair.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, if this baby has a 6-foot tail, there's no way they're doing this. There's just simply no way. Like, that's just bad writing. Like, there's no way that someone said, it's a good idea, where we just kind of thread the needle with this big dinosaur tail for a baby.
And then they do it too with Ethel, the grandma. Her tail,
who looks just like the baby.
Yeah.
Two characters that look exactly alike.
It's fucking weird. Her tail, especially because she's Fran's mom, but her tail like sticks out of the motorized wheelchair, and you can see it in some shots where her tail is just like a hole in the wheelchair where it's,
which is interesting because tails are equated with breasts in this show. So I'm just saying Ethel is definitely keeping shit hot for like I gotta mention real quick that. I disconnected from the web chat for a minute, so I don't know if anything I said was picked up, and I don't want to repeat it otherwise.
I heard it.
I didn't really. I don't know what.
You were... No, what I brought up. So the episode, like the starting with the baby biting his own tail, I read online a review that said that was already a gay metaphor. It was. I like took this like review down.
Like chasing tail? Is that like the metaphor?
No, like eating. I guess more like eating fecal matter. This is like Freudian. I feel like this is like latent like homosexual complex type. Like it's like this badly translated, very confusing review that I was reading on like a WordPress where different people reviewed different episodes every week. And
I also think that like a bad metaphor is just the theme of this episode.
Oh yeah, it's not bad. It's just there's too many. There's too many metaphors. They're trying to.
But that's what makes it bad, though. Is that like if I'll scan these so you can see like my notes where I'm like, is this? No, it's not. And then 2 minutes later, it is this. And I'm like, well, maybe it's not.
Yeah, this one, I like quote this review where it says, "This episode is filled with social criticism and loaded with drug and homosexual references. First of all, there is now a great hint that Baby is homosexual, or at least bisexual. The episode starts with Baby in his high chair biting his tail. He then stabs his tail with a fork. He screams out in pain, then sucks on it to make himself feel better. Interesting," in all caps. And I just added, what the fuck do they mean by this?
Yeah. Like, I don't think that whole scene was just a gag. I don't think anyone actually knew that it meant anything.
It's just a bookended gag where it starts with him biting his tail, then it ends. The episode ends with him biting his tail too.
Spoilers.
So it's an Boris. Like it's.
Yeah, but I love. Go.
No, I was just going. Yeah, it was dumb. Like I don't think it makes any sense.
But I love it. His delayed reaction though, because he bites it and then he like turns to the camera real slow.
It's just like a Looney Tunes character reading a book about gravity while they're standing in midair. That's all that is. And then falling like.
So he sticks in that scene. He sticks the fork in, and then the camera pans to Charlene enters, and she's like complaining about how the food's not ready. And then I love it. She's like, my thighs are hardly touching.
Which is, she has like the right approach to body positivity, like straight off. Like, I love that. And then her mom, just like moms tend to do, like tries to shoot her down about it. But luckily she seems completely unfazed by her mom saying like, don't exaggerate, I heard you coming.
Yeah, I don't think Charlene really cares about what her parents or anyone thinks about her.
I don't know if she can hear people or dinosaurs. She's delightfully in her own world, and that's where she should be. She's like keeps shit down. Other than her weird carnivore things throughout this episode, I appreciate Charlene the most.
Yeah, and so she's like complaining that they have to wait for Robbie to get home from the YMCA. And then we enter to Earl, and Earl is like, don't you dare talk about the Young Males Carnivores Association like that.
I think that was where I first audibly sighed. I was just like, and here we go. I was like, oh, YMCA, that could be a really funny metaphor, but I can't think of it. Let's hear what they say. I'm like, oh, the Young Men's, same first two words. Carnivore Association. I'm like, okay, so you changed one word. Tight.
It's interesting that, like, I mean, is that the second gay metaphor then, if we're talking about...
Oh, man.
Because it does not get into the village people like concept or like the sneaking away to parks to hook up concept.
No,
it's just...
but...
I don't know. In the 80s, did they know yet? Were they aware?
No, they had to have been aware.
Yeah. In
I think I saw something that, like, the village people was like... Just like, yeah, it's always been like a gay thing.
Yeah.
I thought. Maybe I also read like a wrong article on the internet, which is very possible.
I mean, I don't think when people first heard the song YMCA, I think that maybe there's a wink and a nod through some people, but I don't think it was immediately assumed until people saw them live, which they played at Riot Fest, and maybe it was until last year or whatever.
Yeah, last year. You know what? Those guys might be gay.
It is interesting that... that the YMCA is brought up in this episode that decides... I feel like it just is punching down at homosexuality in the metaphors, really. I don't think it brings it...
Yeah.
There's not really positive meaning brought into it.
Well, yeah.
No, not in the least. Like, it was just really, like you said, like, down-punching jokes. And I was like, But then also, I guess to punch down at dinosaurs for a second, none of this episode made sense. Because... I'm gonna wait till we come across all the metaphors that just I was like, wait a minute, I thought you were okay, well I'll let it slide, and then it just didn't make any sense. I was like, what are you trying to go for?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think being an herbivore means in this universe? Because I, after watching this episode and taking notes, don't know. I straight up don't know. And it's confusing me, and I'm not gonna lie, it made me a little bit mad because I feel like I should have understood a kid's show a little bit better, and I didn't.
It's interesting, in that gayest podcast I listened to, they note the first gay metaphor for them being when Earl says that when he was initiated down at the Y, they made quite a meat eater out of him. And while I was watching the episode, I don't think I would have thought that, but I think they might be right. That might have been thrown in for that reason. Like, that may be, I just realized that may be the acknowledgement of what the village people were.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, but I also think it's like, I think it's supposed to be like equating, like eating meat and stuff with like being a man, like a real man's man, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. It just seems like a weird way to phrase the line otherwise. Like, it's also, either like, a bad metaphor or bad writing, basically.
I mean, probably a little bit of both, but like, also, were they just like not eating meat up until this age? Is this like a rite of passage thing? I was like, what?
Yeah, we're still like, we're on episode 8. We're still trying to figure out what the laws of nature and the sacred book of Dinosaur and stuff. Like, what are all these rules like that they have in society?
I would say it's like, they talk about Robbie's supposed to rip open a live mastodon with his teeth, which I assume they mean the first 2 records for Mastodon.
Yeah,
because they said rips, so they must mean the first 2.
Goes to the record store and just rips open that double vinyl and then just goes right into it.
Well, but they do have that song.
The baby eats live animals. So
yeah,
what song?
I was gonna say they have that song called "Crusher Destroyer," which has the sample from Jurassic Park in it. So we're on to something.
Awesome.
I think also we're just overthinking it because Dinosaurs, Mastodon, same period, right? Kind of.
Oh, this is the most fucked up thing about the show. Like, dinosaurs, mastodons, humans, they all live in the same time period in the show.
That's a fact.
I mean, that's just Flintstones, Ian.
Yeah.
That's like Flintstones history.
Yeah. So
her story.
So Earl goes on and talks about, how it's this big tradition thing, and we cut to the woods, and Robbie is with his friend Dave, who's new. We haven't met Dave yet. I don't think he comes back. And he's talking about how he just couldn't eat it. He threw up when he was supposed to kill the mastodon. And Dave's like, it's all right, man. Like, not everyone's meant to be a carnivore, And Robbie's just like in denial. He's like, no way. He's like, my mom's a carnivore. My dad's a carnivore. My sister, whoa, she's a carnivore.
And here's where you initially lose me, because I wrote down in my notes, is this a gay thing? And then I immediately later, but nope, not at all, because there's that.
Yeah.
How like, so his dad, his sister, his mom, especially his sister, whatever that's supposed to mean.
He's slut shaming.
Yeah, he's
that's what I like. It comes up again later. Like, I'll get to it, but like, I definitely, the metaphor keeps being lost specifically with that situation with the sister and like.
That comes up, but there's so many things where I was kind of like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, is this a gay thing, or am I just like, are they just like really like not pro vegetarian, but like, well, they're a bunch of herbivore dinosaurs, that has to make sense. But then he goes, yeah, like, I found out when I was 12. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. 12-year-olds, discover themselves. And then he was like, yeah, but, there's this cool vegetarian restaurant, and that's where all the hot girls are. So I'm like, wait, so what? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I guess
what angle we're going for.
If they were doing straight metaphor, it would be okay for them to say there were hot girls there, because it would be separate. So I guess if it's a metaphor, it wouldn't be the same exact. I don't know. It's confusing because you think of it as like a place, like a gay bar, but then it like, this is where it starts throwing in the drugs thing pretty heavily.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, like, and I love it when it's just like when he admits that he felt funny, like eating some vegetables. And, like, Robbie's just like, you're one of them? And he kind of has to, like, calm him down. Like, he's just like...
and so that's where I'm like, okay, so, like, we're, like, one scene change, and I'm like, I think this is an episode about someone maybe being gay, and then we get to the end episode, and I'm like, I'm not sure what this episode was about.
So yeah, and I
really toss it around in that scene because I can his response to him trying vegetables sometimes does remind me of like when I was younger and found out that like my friends had been smoking weed without me knowing this yet, and I was just kind of like heard about it. I was just like, really? And then like my response was to be like very like negative about it, I guess, but really I just felt left out.
I also like
this whole time.
Yeah, I also like when he was just like, is it true what they say? And he's just like, yeah, the chlorophyll, it makes them wild, man. It's like, what?
Super bizarre.
Yeah, and so that also didn't help like the gay metaphor, because I'm just like what? Like that. And so at the end of this scene change, I just wrote, "This is weird." That was all I could think of.
The whole chlorophyll thing just reminds me of like that like PETA ad I think ran during like a Super Bowl, where like this woman appears to have been like it's like running it like it's a domestic abuse.
Yes.
If you remember this,
I remember this.
Okay, and then it ends up being like vegans just have better sex.
Like, oh god!
But like
it was
the
so tone deaf.
Like, yeah, the ad was like, my boyfriend went vegan and like knocked the bottom out of me.
Yes, that was it. That was the tagline.
And I was like, ew.
Yeah. She had black eyes and was in a cast, and like it was the whole metaphor throughout the whole like commercial was definitely that she was being abused. It was so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like my eyes rolled so hard, I thought I was gonna fall over when I saw that. I was like, this is just like PETA is embarrassing as it is, and this I was just like, man, y'all just don't know how to talk to people, do you?
No.
They just go on tour with Anti-Flag and talk to the audience. That's all that's my only in-person interaction.
Don't latch
really?
on. Yeah.
So they went on tour with This is really funny. This is also not Dinosaurs, but okay. they went on tour with Comeback Kid, and like I was at that show, and they were doing their whole like leafleting thing, and like I was there, and vegan, and my friend was like not vegan. And they came up to me and offered a pamphlet. I'm like, oh no, I'm good. I'm already vegan. And then they were talking to me. I'm like, look, man, I'm already in the club. Stop talking to me about it. Like, give it to someone else. Like trying to like convince me. I'm like, no, dude, I've been in this for like 7 years. Mission accomplished. Bring the troops home. I'm already doing this.
I don't need to play a video game where Mario murders animals. I'm good.
I know. And I was just like, God, there's squares.
Yeah.
What a weird.
So speaking of abuse. When I love when Robbie comes home and everyone's cheering, the baby still has the fork in his tail. No one took it out of his tail.
Okay, also what I need you to recognize is he comes home and throws his gym bag on top of the fridge.
It's so funny. I love it. He just fucking throws it.
And I was just like, wait, what?
Were they just like, I feel like they were like, you need to throw it somewhere, but it can't fuck with the blocking for this scene because nobody can see where they're going in those costumes.
Yeah, he just threw
it.
It's so funny.
I was just like, what? I was like, he just walked in and just like, fuck it, and just threw it on top of the fridge, which also sounds like something that I would do because I've like put my keys in the refrigerator on accident, but I'm also just like, I mean, even I wouldn't put my gym bag on top of the fridge so aggressively too. Not even like placing it there like there's supposed to be the heat.
So Robbie comes in, tosses his shit to the side, and and immediately Earl's just like, he's like hugging him. He's like being the most affectionate Earl we've ever seen ever.
Yeah, he noogie attacks him.
Yeah, and he's all like, and Robbie's like, get off me, Dad, and he's just like, I'm so proud of you. He's like, I'm glad I had you.
Finally.
And so Robbie's like, you can tell he likes the attention from his dad, but at the same time, he's just like, oh no, I hope he doesn't actually find out. And then Charlene just comes in and immediately rats his ass out.
Yeah. Can't be stopped. Fran is like, not now, Charlene, but she's she was on the phone with Emily Starvis or Stavis, and she said that Peter said that Diana said that Robbie coughed up the critters. Robbie's so mad. He threatens to bite her head off.
Yeah, and then she emasculates him, of course. Like, oh no, you're gonna eat me? Oh, he's a cannibal.
And so also that exchange is when I wrote down, oh, I think it's a vegan thing.
Yeah.
Because I realized that, like, this isn't a gay thing. Like, what are you going to do? Eat me? Or just like, that's okay, so that's your sister. So that's eating is no longer like a sex thing. Eating is actually like consuming a person.
Yeah. Because it definitely, the fact that it's actually like him just being a vegetarian or considering it is literally just like that explains all the gay metaphors to begin with, because we've definitely heard that throughout our lives.
No.
And yeah, so then Earl
Soy boy.
Yeah, soy boy. Earl's just like, how did you not do it? It's like, he's smaller, like smaller things eat bigger things, so we established
No,
that
the other
logic.
way around.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Smaller things eat
Bigger things eat smaller things.
He's
And
blasphemed.
yeah, and then Earl starts to question. He's like, "You're not one of those." And then like Fran like stops him, and the baby immediately starts shouting, "Herbo, Herbo!"
And that pulls me right back into, am I wrong? Is this back to being a gay joke?
Yeah, and then,
Uh,
Just the baby saying soy boy.
yeah, and then Fran's just like, "Hey, where did you hear that?" And then Ethel comes in and she's just like, "Television."
Yeah, she reveals herself as the progressive of this episode, because she's talking about like it's irresponsible, it's a degradation of society.
I'm gonna write a letter.
Her solution is to write letters. Yeah, so Fran tells her to get a life, which is fair, because it's not gonna do anything to write a letter to a.
She's like the right to censor stable in WWE in 2001.
What is that in English? Tipper Gore? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like they were supposed to Vince McMahon hated the like parent teacher group so much that he made a parody of them and put them on his television to wrestle and get beat up to get his revenge.
I had a manager who hated the local PTA so much he wrote a book about it called Latte Sipping Prostitutes.
Oh my god.
So that's on the same level.
So yeah,
He was the Vince McMahon of our office.
Yeah. So Earl is outraged again. He's just like, it's the Green Menace is in our house. Like,
Yeah.
like Fran's just like, he's not one of those radicals.
See, this is the only thing that makes sense of like a review I saw online that said it was about communism.
Yeah. He says there's one hiding under every bed or something like that.
Oh my god. Yeah,
So-
the metaphors just hit the fan.
Yeah. And then so Robbie is just mad. He's like, and Earl's just like, if you're not going to listen to me, then you can go to your room. So he does. And then Charlene pipes in. She's like, "Oh, Dad, I eat so much meat." And she goes to the fridge and she like opens it up.
So
Yeah.
if this is a metaphor, okay, so if it's a metaphor for homosexuality, then what she did was just like fuck a bunch of guys just now, or like if it's a metaphor for like him using drugs, did she just like swear straight edge? Like, I don't know. Like, did she just go to a Comeback Kid concert? I don't know what happened to this.
Well, then,
Just all of like the visual of the hands come in. I'm like, what? Like, I remember that was that like a running gag in the show, like the hands in the refrigerator. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was just like, that unlocked a deep memory for me, and I was just like, did I just know only this one episode, or is that like a whole thing? So I'm glad it was actually in the whole series.
like
It's a very Flintstonesian, it's a living type situation.
Yeah.
all the food is like alive and they just live in the fridge.
But like I said, they have frozen food in the freezer, but there's still alive creatures that live in the freezer. It doesn't make sense. Like,
Yeah. And
this is where I turn for answers in reality, and it's just I get none.
And then I love this part too, where Earl's just like, "All right, Charlene, you are now my son."
You have been promoted to son.
And she's like, "Daddy," "Can I get some money for some new lipstick?" He's like, "Whatever you need, son."
So he's a progressive now. That's
yeah.
I think this is also where I realized that all the members of the family are different dinosaurs except for the grandmother and the baby.
Yeah.
And I was just like, does that like skip a generation? Is this like a Hey Arnold boarding house for dinosaurs?
It's weird. They say that like the baby's a megalosaurus, which is what Earl is, and then everyone else, and like Brandon Allosaurus. She listens to all. She's into Descendants and all. And then it's weird. The grandma was originally going to be a pterodactyl who slept in the closet hanging upside down, but they could not feasibly work it out puppet-wise. So they went with the other task of putting her in a wheelchair, which is also seems like a lot of work.
Yeah. So Charlene is now the son, and
So
Earl,
we got Earl's the mother, father. Charlene's the daughter, son.
And
there needs to be like an actual canon family tree so I can follow it. Because it also just seems like let's just pick 5 dinosaurs and call them a family. And just
it's like any other sitcom. We talked about this in like the first episode. It's like, you know, you have shows like Boy Meets World where they all look vastly different, and like Boy Meets World, Corey is their young Jewish son, and they're all just like these white, like waspish looking family. It's so goofy.
Yeah. So Fran is trying to get Earl to go and talk to Robbie, and Earl's just like, "No, I'm not gonna do it." She gives him the look, and he's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, to hell with me.
To hell with me.
I always put in these moments where the scene changes, I say, like a sitcom, the scene changes to them outside Robbie's room, like...
Yeah, like, they knock on the door, and she's like, "Robbie, your father wants to talk to me." He's like, "No, he doesn't."
This is also where I think I have the most actual questions. Is in this scene change. Oh, I guess in this... no, it's not. I don't know what scene change is anymore because I've just lost all grip of reality in my reality and this dinosaur's reality.
Yeah.
Because apparently this metaphor that was supposed to be for a vegetarian or homosexual is now a straight up drug reference.
Yeah. Because Earl goes through his stuff to find answers and finds a little Ziploc of broccoli.
Yeah, because he doesn't...
A single stalk and floret of broccoli. I'm like, what was that on the streets? Like, is that like actual like good broccoli? Is like hydroponic broccoli?
It's sus. It has to be because it's in a real Ziploc bag where I remember being a teenager and it was always in a cigarette cellophane that was burned shut. Like as the podcast like a historic drug user, I have to say that I've never gotten a Ziploc of anything. Like it's always a Kroger bag, like the corner torn off, and once again a lighter sealed shut. That's like the common.
Well,
if you really want to get a good laugh, my middle school had like the Mendez Foundation, where they had someone come in like every Thursday for like a year and was just like, "Hey kids, don't do drugs for these reasons." And even as like a 13-year-old, like not gonna do drugs, I'm like, this is not worth my time. Like, just show me something else. And so they gave out these little pouches that were like little baggies of something, and then the next week they were like, "We have stopped giving out baggies because people have been using them for the wrong purposes." And I was just like, wow. As a 13-year-old, why am I shocked that if you gave a 13-year-old a marijuana-sized baggie, they put marijuana in it?
I think it's super goofy. Like you said, Mendez Foundation. I was like, I don't know what that is, but is it about the Mendez brothers who killed their parents?
Elaborate, and it may be. I don't know.
I quickly looked it up, and it does not appear to be related. But that was like in the Oh God! In 1989, like these two little like two kids like killed their parents and then like blamed it on years of like abuse or whatever.
Yeah.
And so when I hear Mendez, that's my immediate thing. Or Ava Mendez, that's a person, right? But,
yeah, that was parodied on The Cable Guy, if you remember, in the movie The Cable Guy, when Ben Stiller, he's like on trial. It's
wait,
like
that's a real movie? That wasn't a dream I had?
No, because this is a brilliant movie. I don't care what anyone says.
No, it was supposed to be Chris Farley in that movie too.
Oh, it's such a good movie.
He was also supposed to be in Shrek. They recorded all the audio. And
I heard about that.
Yeah, I do know that.
I also like
yeah.
in this scene. I like when Earl was just like, "Oh, he up and left because he doesn't trust our parents. He doesn't trust us, Fran. So I'm gonna search through his shit."
Yeah. It's worth noting that when he finds the broccoli, because Fran insinuates that maybe he doesn't know what it is and that he just was holding it for a friend. And there's a thing where like Earl says I could have understood a carrot or a little lettuce maybe, but right to broccoli. So is it not weed? So is it heroin? Like what is it?
So if we're gonna go through like the drug joke names, let's start from the very beginning. Lettuce is marijuana.
Okay,
also, sometimes known as jazz cabbage. I'm assuming whatever the next step up from marijuana is, which I mean,
a carrot.
Yeah, a carrot. But like, what is that like?
Shrooms?
Like Dino X or like Dino
Kratom
shrooms, or like, is it worse? Is it like Dino K2 or Dino Spice?
I had two different times last time I went to Cincinnati. I was approached in a car full of teenagers where they asked me like if I needed any ice, and I was like no. And then they were like, "What about wood?" And I had not heard. I have to assume it's heroin, but I had never heard this like used before. And I hang out in lascivious joints. Like
I've never heard someone call anything other than lumber wood. So I'm really wondering what they would have called that.
And you're the resident expert on the word wood.
As someone with wood in the root of my name, like I don't know, because I'm now thinking of just like marijuana that's solely stems, and it's just like twigs.
Yeah,
and that's all they gave them.
Yeah,
you know, Tim told me that I should make a lot of like Toy Story jokes when you were on here.
Oh my god!
Wait, no.
I will log off right now.
Wait, no, he said I shouldn't. I remember now.
I knew
what's really
I knew the temptation.
What's so
would be
funny?
there.
What's so funny is that like my last name's also Bond, so I got dealt two bad hands in a row because people just don't know how to act around me, and so I get dumb jokes since the day I was born.
Yeah,
and
I said it's not much better if I do a dick bondage joke, so I don't know what he was like.
So, what's happened now is that like the job I have now is great because the people only make like Blues Brothers jokes, which I never get, and I honestly appreciate. I never get like Elwood, because like Elwood is like my middle name, which is where I get it from, and so I never get like an Elwood Blues joke. So like one teacher down the hall was just calling me that. I'm like, yes, thank you. It's so refreshing. But now what I've been doing is when someone asks like for my name at like a store and like tell them last name is Bond, they go, oh, like James? I just go, no, like Gold. And then they don't get it. They don't laugh. I laugh as I'm walking away, and it's just a great time for no one but me. And that's really how it should be.
My response would be like, no, like the thing between a father and son. My real last name is Bradley. I might as well say it. I said my phone number in one of the episodes recently. So I remember there was a kid in first grade who called me Milton Bradley, and I was like, that's an interesting way to insult somebody. It's just reference a board game company.
That's really funny. There was some poor soul when I was in the middle school. His name was John Jacob.
Oh no!
And that poor, like, I'm happy he at least like aged out of elementary school, so he got like only a handful of those jokes.
Yeah.
And then when I was very briefly at a high school in Tampa, they were calling roll, and there was some girl's name was Jennifer Lopez.
Oh no!
And they called it, and someone goes, "Wait, what?" like just the idea of someone else having that name just blew their mind.
Like one of the most common first names and most common last names somehow met again.
It was just so corny.
See, I had the pleasure of being
South Park.
And that was middle school, so that carried on.
What was it?
Timmy from South Park.
Oh, I thought there was like a Tim McGowan in South Park. I was like, that's really specific.
No. Yeah, I was gonna say with a name like Tim McGowan, people really had to make fun of you for things that hurt. Like like you actually things that you did. But no, I forgot about Timmy.
Yeah,
I honestly did too until this very moment.
Yeah, I was terrible. I remember when they debuted him, and it was just like, oh my god, please stop.
Did you look at that? Like everyone looking at the news nowadays, like, oh, this is not going to be good for me. Seeing a headline and just like, oh, this will not bode well for the next 6 to 8 months for me at all.
I don't think I was even watching South Park regularly at that point. So I didn't
like
even
you do
know.
now.
Yeah.
Tim got HBO Max only for South Park.
So he's like tired of watching it on YouTube.
Yeah. Anyway, so Robbie's parents are so distressed, and immediately Earl starts blaming Fran because he hates his wife, and he's just like, he's like, this is all your fault, Fran. He got it from your side of the family, and she's like, what do you mean? He's like, Uncle Elmo. They don't talk about Uncle Elmo.
All right, so let's talk. Who is Uncle Elmo? Because I have
we don't know.
a question mark after that name too.
Okay, so Baby is puppeted and voiced by Kevin Clash, who voiced Elmo.
Oh.
So he also does voices for other people in the show. So this is the thing that was weird to me about, because Kevin Clash is gay. And I don't know if that was known by the people who wrote the show at the time in 1991. Like, because Elmo had existed for like 11 years at that point.
Yeah.
But I did find out, because I was listening to that gayest episode ever, they had like a whole like little back and forth about like, well, he doesn't do Elmo's voice anymore. And they like kind of laughed about it. And I was like, the fuck does that mean? And then I looked it up, and in like the vein of famous Kevins, he had a thing where he was accused of sleeping with like young men who were underage, and he of course responded to it by coming out as gay, like which is what Kevin Spacey did. They're just like, oh yeah, I'm gay. It's like, that's not the part of the question. Like, that's really not what we were talking about. But thanks for linking together the whole public hysteria that already linked those two things throughout history.
Yeah. So maybe it was a joke at his expense, maybe.
Or maybe with him. I would hope with him in this sense. I hope he wasn't working. He was voicing Howard Handupme and voicing Baby and doing all this puppet work just for them to be like, we're going to throw in some gay Herbo jokes.
Yeah. And then Fran's all upset. She's like, well, if my cooking would have been better.
Yeah, totally fucked the metaphor again. Like,
yeah, like if like I never heard someone like being gay because they had bad food one time.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, but then immediately it goes back to Earl too, who's just like he's like, well, maybe I should have taken him on a hunt and had him kill something. Like
that's also a metaphor though.
I know.
It falls into the gay straight metaphor as far as Earl would be concerned.
Yeah,
machismo.
Yeah.
Like this exchange was me going, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. And like, I was like, okay, so it's not a gay metaphor. Then it is, then it isn't. And I'm just like, I don't know what to believe anymore on this episode. Because just those two talking threw me for a loop. Okay. Like every time they made a counterpoint.
It doesn't get any easier as the scene changes to the herbivore bar either.
Oh my god.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
So yeah. So we cut to the salad bar, and Robbie's there sitting with his friend Dave, and there's a bunch of people eating vegetables. There's a folk singer who's I know he's supposed to be like Bob Dylan, but I immediately just thought of my friend Matt Pless because it's like
You thought of Matt Pless?
Yeah.
Well, Matt Pless is Bob Dylan.
I know. I know. But
He's
even the song about Bambi's mom sounds exactly like a Matt Pless song.
Oh my God. I love it. I love like Matt Pless, like not too long ago was making like fake like covers of Teen Beat or whatever with 3-prong outlet on it, and like there were a couple of fakes he posted that I believed for a second, and then I realized, oh, I'm just really dumb. Like I forgot that he was as goofy as I am and would do this. Yeah. But Matt Pless is one of my first solo shows I ever played. I played with Matt Pless and Heathers from Ireland. Oh. And it was a pretty cool show. It also it started off being at like this vegan dude's house who made a big pot of vegan chili for everyone, and it was definitely the most hipster experience I had in my life. Being in like this living room with Matt Pless and the Heathers and this guy making vegan chili. His bed was a loft bed, and it was above a coffee shop and like the gentrifying over the Rhine of Cincinnati. It was
each descriptor hurts me more and more.
I had to like walk around. I had to scoot around his tall bike to get into the apartment. Like it was, and it was the most like nerve-wracking first show too, because like I was like, so what's the situation? Like, oh, just go to the backyard. You can move around the chairs, set it up however you like. I'm like, oh, damn it. I just want to be told what to do. Yes. I had to keep asking people like, am I almost done? And they're like, you made the show, man. Keep going as long as you want. I was like, oh, I've like already done. Like, please let me leave. Yeah. But Matt Pless is Bob Dylan. The actual guy who's doing the Bob Dylan impression like does it regularly as like part of his career at this point. Like,
really?
Yeah, so the costume is that turtle puss guy that works with Earl. Yeah. That costume gets used constantly, that guy, his name is Stephen Banks. And he has a TV show that came out in '89 called the Stephen Banks like Home Entertainment Hour. That was like kind of Pee-wee's Adventure, like kind of Pee-wee's Playhouse-ish, mixed with like it was on PBS and it was super fucking weird. I just like watched some of it before we started recording. You got really excited about it. I plan to watch way too much of it later.
So with this scene, questions or not questions already, observations. The salad bar, I'm already assuming is a gay metaphor, and I can't figure out what it is.
Like tossing
salad.
Yeah, and so I was just like, I feel like that's too upfront for a kid's puppet show, but you know, we'll go with it, I guess. I do like Dino Bob Dylan covering what I am assuming is a Dino Woody Guthrie. Yeah. And I'm now thinking like in the Cars universe, how there's like a Cars Pope or like a car, like a tow truck that tows the cars. I'm now imagining there's like a Dino Woody Guthrie that has like will tear these Dino fascists down.
Is he voiced by Larry the Cable Guy?
Yeah, he is. And he's coming for We Say So, and he's like, this lamb is your lamb, right? That's what he said.
Yeah. And like I'm like, okay, so in this universe there is someone who was so anti-fascist as a dinosaur and also a folk singer that they are a Dino Woody Guthrie.
And then Ben, you
what
gotta learn.
Dinosaur would Woody Guthrie be?
That dinosaur.
What dinosaur has like the hammer on the end of its tail? That's like it's like a big like deluxe armadillo.
Ankylosaurus.
I can't remember what it's called.
Is that the same thing that Spike from Land Before Time is? Because that's what I was gonna say.
No,
maybe.
No, Spike.
No, it's a little different.
Spike is a Stegosaurus. He's talking about an Ankylosaurus.
Spike is a what?
A Stegosaurus.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's a big
he is. You're right. You're an Ankylosaurus, like the kind that fought the Indominus Rex.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's I could see this character being Spike. I mean I can't find another character that can prove me wrong, so I'm gonna go with this. That's whatever Spike is.
What if you had if I was a gun person, if I was half gun, half person? No, if I was somebody who owned a gun,
Billy Gun,
I would write on it like this machine gets him dancing. Just speaking of bad metaphors.
Yeah.
This machine promotes fascism.
I do like that scene though, like when they're like at the table and he's like, Dave is like putting the cucumber in the thing. He's like, "Cukes, man, try check them out."
What the fuck what are cukes?
Cukes.
Also with this scene, if someone was trying to get me to go vegan and they gave me a raw cucumber, I would not be vegan. Like, I don't like cucumbers, and that's like, there's not even salt, man. It's just a shredded up cucumber.
They really do exist to carry like dip. Like,
yeah, they are purely vessels for hummus and dips, and that's it. Or like if you need to fill up space in a veggie roll for sushi. I don't like cucumbers. I like pickles. Cucumbers to me are just like pickles that aren't ready yet.
Yeah, they're just not pickled yet.
So I'm just sitting here thinking of like me like 10 years ago. Or 11 years ago, being like, I don't know, man, this whole vegan thing sounds pretty cool, but I'm not about it. And someone goes, yo, just try a cucumber, bro. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to keep eating french fries until I die.
It's so bizarre because, like, typically we've all had vegetables. That's the weird thing is, like, it'd be more like, I guess, like 10 years ago, somebody hands you, like, a really bad Morningstar, like, veggie burger and is like, check this out, it's like the real thing. You're just like, how about I just eat things that aren't fake hamburgers until the Impossible Burger exists?
Or what they'll do is they'll be like, oh, I made a veggie burger, it's black beans. I'm like, all right, I'm here. It's like, this got vegan cheese. I'm like, this isn't that good 10 years ago, but I'll still eat it. And go, what's the side? Oh, the side is wheat germ. I'm like, just send it back.
Ew. Yeah, and even Robbie isn't like about it. Like, he doesn't really like it until the girl comes up and is just like, ooh, I love the smell of lettuce on a dinosaur's breath.
Yeah. So if it's a drug metaphor, this part makes a little bit more sense as far as Hollywood is concerned. But if it's a homosexual metaphor, she's just like, he sucks a dick? Like, I'm not sure.
It is a cucumber. Is there anything in that article you found about the cucumber, like the significance
about the cucumber?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, we can imagine. We don't have to.
Well, so
the article can only do so much.
Yeah. So when Robbie finds out that eating vegetables will get him laid, because I mean, why else would you go vegan?
Yep.
His dad
knocked the bottom out of him.
His dad shows up, and we learn Robert's full name. We learn Robbie's full name. Robert Mark Sinclair.
Okay, so this isn't the first episode we hear his full name. I think we hear it in like Howling or something like that, but
okay. Yeah,
this is we learn it in the first season. Sorry I didn't mean to make that seem like a well actually moment.
So is his name Mark or Marks? Like Karl Marx or singular Mark?
It might as well be
He is one Mark.
Is just a single Mark? Okay, that's no work.
Just an hi Mark. Just one Mark.
He's a Mark. He's a Mark for vegetables. So yeah, his dad's in there and he's really upset with him, and the girl who's just flirting him with was like, oh my god, this old dinosaur is so herbophobic.
Yeah, so right back. She accuses him of not liking the movie Herbie Fully Loaded.
Which is a sin in the dinosaur world. And like his dad is like pulling him in different directions, and she's pulling him in different directions, and Robbie's just like, all of a sudden, he's just like, why do I have to be anything?
Yeah, he's just pointing out that there's no need for labels, man. Like, it's
let's just have fun, man.
Yeah, a dick is a dick. This is how I feel, honestly. People just like to claim that they're straight because it's cool. Status quo.
Is it though?
I hope not any longer. This is the thing that's like interesting to me, is doing like the having these metaphors thrown into the show as somebody who grew up queer, but like I didn't have a situation where I had to like, I thought I had to come out pretty strong when I was younger. I like wrote this email that I never sent to my mom, like kind of like rubbing in her face or whatever, because she had kicked me out when I was 16. I was gonna be like, yeah, well, I'm gay. But then, like, looking back, all of my mom's friends were gay when I was a kid. Like, everyone we knew. Like, we lived in a neighborhood that was, like, starting to, like, gentrify a little bit around us.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, like, a poor neighborhood. And then there was, like, a gay couple that lived next door and a gay couple on the other side and across the street. And my mom played poker with them every, like, once a week. So I didn't really know there was a difference between gay and straight, but like when I got older, I decided that my mom would hate it if I was gay or whatever. And then of course, like she found out before I said anything that I was bisexual, and she just put it in her own words of like, "Well, you should lose weight if you hope to meet a man."
Yikes!
Well, if you were,
that's you know.
Well, Ben, if you were a herbo, you know, you could shred those pounds.
God, you know, she was frustrated like for the couple years I was vegetarian. She didn't like that.
Well,
I was too picky.
Yeah. So
how dare you?
So Earl gets his son out. He calls them all pea pushers, and then like when he leaves, they all start singing "Give peas a chance."
Yeah, I really like to imagine like a Asian Man Records plea for peas type tour.
Yeah. So he pulls him away. He gets Robbie out of there. He takes him into the woods, and he's just like telling
Some good old
Robbie
hunting
that he has to go. Yeah, he's got to hunt, and then like Earl like has this moment. He's like, "Look, I never told you, your mom this or anyone, but I experimented a little bit with lettuce back in the day."
So when I heard experimented, I was like, "Oh wow, this show is getting progressive." It was just like I experimented in college too. It was just like, okay, like for the early '90s, like with lettuce. So like,
it's still so unsure. Like,
yeah,
it's I love that he refers to it as his salad days.
His salad days.
I know. I like that a lot. That actually made me laugh pretty hard.
So I wrote down minor threat, straight edge life.
Yeah.
Because although I love to say salad days in the actual meaning of it, but I always think of minor threat salad days EP or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, I love when he like spots the animal, and he's like trying to like sneak up. All I wrote for a note was like, how did Earl get this far in life? How was he hunting? He's so like uncoordinated and like he's a terrible.
Fran would be able to hear him coming. Is like the same thing with Charlene and the thighs.
Yeah,
Charlene and the thick thighs save lives.
Yeah. And then like I love it when he pops up when the food pops up and he's just like staring at him, and Earl's just like,
when the food pops up,
go.
When the food pops up,
Go and get him.
Sorry, Catch-22.
And I love it. Even the like the food, he's just like, what is he, some kind of veggie or something like that?
Yeah. So we got Herbo, we got Veggie, like.
I heard those and I was like, this has to be like another just like shitty way of saying gay. Like,
Yeah.
in this show. I feel like what happened, like now that we're talking about it, I feel like what happened was this was on ABC, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like ABC saw this episode and they're like, hey, this is a little bit too specific. Like, I know you're making a lot of like metaphors for gay or vegetarian, but can you like make it even more ambiguous? Like, can you make the viewer just not know what you're talking about for a half an hour?
I think
yeah.
that was the point.
But whatever it is, make it be bad, but just not really say what it is.
And they were all on DMT in the writer's room, so they were like, fine. It's I watch like behind the scenes. They talk about, because this is Michael Jacobs' show, who did he did like Boy Meets World and some other.
Oh, okay.
I like Boy Meets World, but he did bad shows too. But me and V are doing a Boy Meets World rewatch, where it's going to be more commentary style, where we're going to record over the episode. But it's Michael Jacobs talks about it like they were kind of influenced to try to push the barriers a bit with like this show, because they were puppets. They felt like they could get things by. And I assume it was one of those things where they just threw ideas at the wall to see what they can get onto TV.
Yeah.
I mean, that last episode really is a wild ride. And so they really were just like, let's just see if we can end it like this.
Yeah.
Do you remember Wonder Chosen?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they tried to end that show by doing, I episodes where they were just dressed like hillbillies and making hillbilly jokes. And they did 2 full 30-minute episodes of just like cutting between different, like David Cross dressed as a hillbilly and like John Glazer dressed as a hillbilly and just making like fucking my cousin jokes until they got canceled. Like they were trying to get canceled at that point, which is such a bizarre. That's like the same company that made like Delocated and what is that? Art, like Renegade Angel, Xavier Renegade Angel or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Wonder Chosen was a show that I feel like I dreamt up when I was having like a fever dream, because I was like, there's no way they would let this mistake get on television.
Yeah, it was on MTV2, I think.
Yeah, it was on for like 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was on it, and I remember once again being like 14 and going, how is this on television?
Yeah.
Like
they did the whole episode where they had the kid dress up as Hitler and go around asking people if they think he will go to hell. And like they got really nervous when they were releasing the episode because they realized it was going to be on like the anniversary of like some like
stop
Holocaust thing. It was and then the owner of MTV was Jewish, and they were like, oh no, this is bad. This is not what we thought this was going to be. And then it got on air, and they just were like, okay, I guess they don't care what we do. They had a show before that called Snoop Doggy Fizzle Televizzle or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. The transplants.
Yeah. Oh,
the transplants performed on there, and
that's so wild.
And Snoop Dogg did a voice.
There was a Wonder Chosen episode where like it was just like a montage of just like white people just like having fun and like a
and
line
genocide.
in that to anyone that isn't white. I was like, I remember I heard that and I was just like, I dreamt that. That was a bad dream. There's no way that was on television.
Yeah, it's just kids shouting white people, and then like it was showing fun, and then it was showing like bombs going off, and then like
yeah.
Like when they asked the kids like, what's your idea of heaven? And the kid was like, when you get like a 10-piece chicken nugget, and instead you get 10 chicken nuggets. No, you get 7 in a switchblade.
Well, there was an episode where it was like I think it was the episode we were talking about like what do you think heaven's like, and the puppet goes like, I don't know what you're huffing, kid. There's no such thing as God. And I was just like, holy shit! Like, yeah, this fucking show.
It's all memes now. That's why I think it's so funny. Like, you'll see the meme of like the kid, the little girl who's asking people in Wall Street where will they hide when the revolution happens.
Yeah.
It's such a bizarre show. It's one of those shows where you're like, I want to show you some scenes from this show, but don't judge me as I do it.
That, like, it's whenever it gets brought up, I'm just kind of just like, I wasn't one person that like saw this show, like, so I'm like, all right, so like, I guess we're just gonna talk about it because like, there's no other way aside from going to therapy to talking about this show, because it was just like, like, this is just terrifying.
Yeah, it was made by PFFR, which was an art collective, is what they call themselves in New York. They didn't mainly do TV. They were also a band, and they just decided they were going to make a show. That's essentially how this happened.
That's great.
It's so fucking weird. It's definitely like along like there's shows like Eastbound and Down and like even like Red versus Blue falls into this, where I'm like, I want to show you this show, but just know that I'm on your side about the things you don't agree with before we watch it. Like, trust me, I also hate that part, but there is some merit within this.
Well, that's like going back and watching stuff from like the 90s, or like having someone tell me like, oh, this part was bad. I'm like, what part? Like, oh, this giant transphobic scene. I'm like, that was in there? And I'm like, oh yeah, like how I just forgot that Ace Ventura 1, like the plot of Ace Ventura 1 is just a terrible transphobic joke.
Yeah,
like,
and then you have like Revenge of the Nerds and Animal House being just date rape jokes the whole time. Like,
yep, just didn't think about that until probably like 5 or 6 years after I watched it for the last time. I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty bad. This is like nowhere near as funny as I thought it was when I was like 20 or 19.
No, it's like viscerally uncomfortable.
Yeah, because you're just like, oh, like this should not have been okayed.
So yeah,
That's it.
Going back to puppets.
Oh, do you have something? 'Cause I was gonna bring up the R word ruining most media before 10 years from now.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to puppets.
So he's when Earl's talking to the prey, and when he asks him if he's like, oh yeah, my son went through a phase where he ate vegetables, and Earl's like, what did you do? He's like, I ate them. and Earl's like, oh, okay.
I love it.
He's like, I'm tough, but I'm fair.
I like how that's considered fair, is that he ate his child. I'm tough but fair. I wrote my notes say the quotations, this little snack is making sense.
This little snack.
And then I put how many times that sentence has been said about me, I can't even count.
Okay. Also, it's probably going to be now in my vocabulary for until the day I die.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, this little snack's starting to make some sense.
It sounds like it'd be a Mad Men quote.
It does. It definitely sounds like a roaring 20s like backhanded compliment to somebody.
Hey, this pair of getaway sticks is making sense.
So while they're talking to him, they hear this roar, and we get the introduction to the giant swamp monster, and he's like, oh, it should be good. He only comes out when he's hungry. So he comes in and he eats Robbie. Like, I love it. Like why would he not eat Earl? Why did he eat Robbie?
He already had some, for the plot, for one, it's a sitcom. And then, because Earl definitely has too much fat on him. Like, I think that's, like, he's a health-conscious swamp monster.
Also, maybe because, like, he was hungry, but, like, not that hungry. Like, when I go to Chipotle and, like, do you want a large drink or a medium drink? I'm like, I'll do a medium drink. I'm not that thirsty. Like, I can do with only that much.
Yeah, but
yeah, you're not going to have room in you for liquids after Chipotle, so I feel like it makes sense.
So yeah, Robbie gets eaten, and all that's left are his shoes, which I thought was funny. And
his Dino Converse.
Yeah. And,
his Sonic the Hedgehog shoes.
Yeah. So the next part we see him, he falls into the stomach. He's in the stomach with the animal he was just talking to, and then there's like a few other smaller animals, and
it looks rough. Falling in there in that costume, in Robbie's costume. I rarely take a moment to think about the puppetry because I'm so focused on dialogue and plot that imagining like having to like fall down a hill wearing that costume sounds really painful, honestly.
Yeah,
and definitely something I would do to impress people.
And yeah, and then I like how the one little animal, he just like shouts. He's like, incoming! And then like they do this.
That's like their new job is just to do that.
Yeah, and I like it. It's like this little like crab creature that's like it looks like green screened into it. And it's like running. And he's like, fast food shoots right through. Like, oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that dinosaur and like the swamp monster were both filmed on location. Like...
Yeah, I like how the swamp monster is just a hand puppet, obviously, and they just
I wrote that down
like,
too.
Superimpose him into the scenes, and I remember when we were talking about hurling day when they kept talking about the Great Equalizer. This being in the stomach, it is the Great Equalizer.
Yeah. That is everyone's the same once they're in there.
Yeah, but Robbie will take longer to digest because he's a dinosaur.
Yeah, so Woody, me and Tim just recorded a bonus episode yesterday. I think it was yesterday, where we were talking about, I found a forum where they were discussing if the Indominus Rex from Jurassic World had to fight the Vastasaurus Rex from King Kong, Peter Jackson version, and also Earl Sinclair. And it was kind of like, I feel like they should have just pulled the swamp monster into that instead of Earl.
No, I still say Gary
Yeah, but that's alienating to our guest.
Yeah.
I don't think Woody's listened to the whole podcast. But there is a 50-foot monster named Gary that Earl's supposed to fight in another episode.
Yeah.
I have listened to an episode of this podcast, mainly because I don't want to listen to it while I fall asleep because I owe that time to Stuff You Should Know. And then I
listened to that too.
I listen to it to fall asleep exclusively. But now, like on like Fridays when I have like more time to just like do like paperwork stuff, I can actually go through and like catch up on podcasts. So this is now in my rotation.
Yeah,
it's awesome. I think Tim just listens to wrestling podcasts exclusively.
Sounds like Tim.
I listen to a lot, but this has been added to my rotation. A lot of podcasts I like have recently stopped or have like gone on hiatus. So I have a reason to find more new stuff, like that new metal podcast I was listening to, and like
POD cast.
Yeah, the POD cast. It's so good.
There was I wanted to do a podcast actually with you, Tim. Now that I know how to do it, was to just go through and like essentially just do commentary on every possibly available Woodstock 99 live set and just go through and just commentate them.
Look at this guy. He's a punk rocker. He's even telling everyone.
Because like the 99 Woodstock videos is the closest we'll ever get to like a living, breathing time capsule.
It's fucking crazy.
Like Jamiroquai, Brian Setzer Orchestra, Metallica, ICP. There's just so I think Ice Cube was in it. If you can find stuff from like the rave where I think Moby played, it was just such like a crazy time. Flea was naked for part of it. Like Limp Bizkit. The absolute best part of that Limp Bizkit set is the fact that before break stuff, Fred Durst can't hear himself, and so you hear him going, "Let me make some noise." Can y'all hear me? Frank, they can't hear me. Make some noise if you can hear me. Yeah, they can't fucking hear me, man. It's down for like 2 minutes.
And I love
and it's just so fucking funny to me.
There's like video footage too of them immediately getting off stage and Fred like immediately like he's just like, that wasn't our fault, man. It wasn't our fault.
But also, like, I've watched a lot of late 90s Limp Bizkit footage because that's who I am as a person. And that's not an isolated incident.
Yeah.
Like, there's a show of them in Jacksonville where you hear him like, "Yo, I need more vocals in the monitors, man. Come on." Like, he's getting mad. I'm like, "Yo, just fire him. Fire him and get someone else."
Yeah. So...
Well, and also in his defense, that guy is fired right now because no one's working in the entertainment industry. So checkmate, bad sound guy from Limp Bizkit circa 1999.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So we cut to Earl.
This is the only time I've heard Tim like segue out of the conversation about Limp Bizkit into something else.
No, I agree. I would love. I want to do. I know you brought it up before, Woody, and I do want to do it because it's hilarious. But yeah. So Earl's like
Woody stock. Go on.
Yeah, that's what you could call it. Woody stock 99.
Woody stock 69.
That was already a concert I did a lot when I was younger. It was just called Woody Stock. It was like 10 bands. That was actually like my first shows I booked. It was tight. And there's like a few there are a few Woody Stock t-shirts floating around in existence. I talked to a friend of mine who actually has one.
That's so good.
But
did you ever use Woody? Is Woody the character? No. Woodstock is the character specifically from Peanuts that I'm thinking of,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, the Woody Stock logo was I found a 100% not for use cartoon vulture and just MS painted it on top of the bird on the Woodstock. Black shirt, white screen, sold them. And so we had a bunch of those. And so, yeah. That was Woody stock. I'll see if I can find a photo. But like my friend Neil was just like, oh, I found one. I thought about you. I'm like, that is like at least a 16-year-old shirt of a show you played one time.
That shirt would accuse Kevin Clash of sexual.
God.
So Earl comes home with Robbie's shoes, and he's so upset, and I don't know why, because all he ever does is talk about how he hates his family and how he hates his kids and everything like that. And the funniest part about it is Fran just doesn't really seem to care. Like, she's just like, who ate Robbie?
Yeah, it's completely just like,
yeah,
it's like a thing that might just happen at any point and they can undo it. Like, it's so bizarre.
And I wrote that. I was like, everyone is just chill with him being eaten. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it acts like that happens all the time.
Charlene has this kind of nonchalance about it the same way she did in this episode where Earl is supposed to fight this 50-foot Gary, where she's just kind of like, it's fine as long as she gets something material out of it. Like, she says they could convert Robbie's room into a memorial walk-in closet.
Yeah, and Earl just, like, he keeps like crying, and
yeah, it hits him so hard. It's like when he lost Baby a couple episodes ago for a minute. Like, he like hates on his family constantly, and then the second anything happens, he like falls to pieces.
Yeah, and like but then he starts to like rationalize. He's like, well, I mean, he was within his rights to eat Robbie, because
the bigger eat the smaller.
Yeah, and it's like, that's the law of nature or whatever. And Fran's like, well, you know what else is part of nature is that we got to protect our kids. So she convinces Earl to go find him.
Yeah, so they of course, Earl does that thing where he's like, oh, geez, they catch it coming and going. And then they, like a sitcom, they're suddenly out in the swamp looking for the swamp monster.
Yeah, and he's like acting like, oh yeah, this is the tree. This is the plant. This is where I saw it. And then finally, the swamp monster comes. He gets himself eaten. And then I love it because it cuts to Robbie. Robbie's in the stomach, and he's playing cards with the two animals.
Yeah. He beats the one animal. The one animal has a 2-pair, and Robbie has a full house, which, in my opinion, is another sitcom reference. Possibly another gay metaphor, but that's a little bit racy.
Yeah, all those dudes living together with all those children.
Too many uncles is what it should have been called.
And then all of a sudden you hear the one smaller one shout, incoming, and then like Earl comes through. And this is the part where I was thinking about what you were thinking, Ben. He like rolls like on his back in the suit. Like, what the fuck? How did they get him up?
Yeah.
It reminds me, just like a couple years ago, I was at like a house show, and I already feel too old to be at house shows. Like, there's like a Jeff Rosenstock, like 80 Jeff Rosenstock songs about that feeling. But like, I was just sitting outside. We had just beat a dresser up. We found a dresser and we beat it to pieces and shotgunned some beers. And then we're just sitting there, and my friend Ezra just turns to me and like grabs onto me and starts rolling. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. Then I like force it and we start rolling down a hill. And it was one of those moments of just like, yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to heavily regret it because I'm 30 now. and my friend Ezra was just like, yeah, right when we started doing that, I remembered that I had just seriously injured myself 2 days before that. And I was like, well, fuck, this sucks. I can't imagine being in that Earl suit. I know I would do it, and I know I would regret it. I'd feel like Tim drumming at Woody's for like an hour.
Yeah, and then I like it too because Earl, he's just like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm coming for you, who spit on the food chain." And you spit. That's great. He's arguing with Robbie. And Robbie's like, well, what can I do to like make it better? And he just like points to he's like, go eat him.
Yeah. This guy, the day he's having, like with his card hands.
Yeah.
he now has a full house and he's like sitting pretty. He tells him to wait a minute. He pulls a full house out. The other guy has a straight flush and he's like, all right, eat me.
Yeah, he just looks up at Robbie and he's just like, eat me.
Like a total macho man.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I got that. Is that right? Macho Man Randy Savage? Is that the eat me step into a Slim Jim?
No, he doesn't really say eat me.
Yeah, it is.
He says eat me.
That's the Slim Jim guy says, eat me.
I'm almost 1,000,000% sure that's the slogan, and you're the resident
You're getting two different Slim Jim commercial campaigns like mixed together.
All right, well,
because there's Snap to a Slim Jim, ooh yeah.
Yeah.
That's and then there's Snap to a Slim Jim, eat me.
Yeah.
And that's when they have the Slim Jim guy who looks like Wayne Static of the Static X.
Okay, so yeah, never mind. You are right. That is two separate.
Yeah, they never cross streams with Macho Man.
They don't cross streams.
Yeah, they don't.
There was never a crossover episode or commercial, I guess.
Where Macho Man eats the guy. that's
Macho Man's rest in peace, correct?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a shirt. I had a Macho Man shirt that I changed to say Nacho Man because we had nacho days at work.
He died.
I had to say,
he died like probably not too far from my house, like in Clearwater. I think he died somewhere.
Do you have an alibi?
It wasn't me. I was not in town. Where was I?
Convenient.
I don't remember.
Convenient.
He had a heart attack. It's alright.
So the Eat Me Slim Jim was different than the Macho Man ad. That's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, so Robbie's still conflicted, and Earl's just like, it's like you defy me every chance you get. It's like it's not about food. Which,
yeah, that's Earl's whole thing is he thinks it's just Robbie trying to defy him.
Yeah, and Robbie's just like, well, didn't you ever fight with Grandpa? And Earl's just like, no. He's like, and then he's like, yes, over everything.
Yeah, I feel like that's really the heart of the conversation is specifically like a narcissistic or egocentric approach to being like, somebody's doing something that's different than my worldview. This completely like erases my identity in this, as if your identity fucking matters in this world, like where you're just like not even recognizable as a blip in the radar. I don't know. I feel like that really is the nature of Earl's concern.
Yeah, and he was just like he was always wrong, and he was just like I wanted a better life for myself, and how he wanted him to like have his babies in the mud and then eat his wife and then die all by himself.
Yeah, which is just I remember, I had a grandpa. So I had a couple grandpas. I remember this.
So I think this lines up with us trying to figure out if Earl was like the first dinosaur to decide that he wanted to start a family, because that's what it sounds like.
It does, but we in our mating dance episode, like Mo Lesser's business had been around for 1,000 years. Like there's the timeline here. Like I feel like they did not have a show Bible. They did not have a thing they referenced per episode. It was like the Brady Bunch. They just threw shit out.
Yeah. But I also like when Earl was just like, he asked Robbie, he's like, how did you get so smart? And then he's just like, from Mom, I guess.
Yeah. They essentially, they decide the laws of nature is really just children will have different ideas than their fathers, and maybe that's how they evolve or whatever. So it's a weird argument to make towards Earl, who I don't think would open his brain up to that. But I guess the great equalizer, he's in the stomach at this point. So
yeah,
who knows?
It also seems like this half of the episode was just hurried, or just like, and we gotta go. Let's go.
Yeah, it's like it definitely has that 6 days to air type feel, like Saturday Night Live or South Park or any show where it's like they're just like, we have this idea, let's fucking hammer it out and be done.
Okay, well, like shit, what was I gonna say? Maybe they you think they would like plan it better because they had all these fucking elaborate sets that they had to use for this episode.
Yeah, like what were the writers doing? Smoking broccoli? Like I don't understand.
I think they were shooting broccoli. I think that's what we came to. So yeah, so
do you want to?
Huh?
I was gonna say, do you want to hear my great joke about a panda at a bar?
Oh my god. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you said shooting. So a panda goes into a bar. He eats his food, and then he shoots the waiter, and then he takes off. And then the host is like, "What the fuck was that about?" And he's just like, "Look at panda up in the encyclopedia," and he does, and it says, "Panda bears eats, shoots, and leaves."
Oh my god.
So I'll see y'all later. This whole podcast was leading up to this moment.
And this isn't even the panda episode. You missed the panda episode.
There's a panda episode?
Yeah, with the two cavemen, remember?
Oh yeah, that did happen already.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so here's my other panda joke. Here's one I actually wrote. I'm glad that they have a Panda Express now because I hate waiting in line for 8 hours to get a panda.
God damn it. All right, so
yeah, pandemonium ended.
So Earl and Robbie start hugging, and they're
getting mushy.
Yeah, they're getting mushy, and then all of a sudden you hear the swamp monster's like inner monologue. I guess I don't know how he's talking.
Yeah, whose voice is way deep. It sounds almost like a PA system.
Yeah, and he's just like, cut it out. That mushy stuff is making me nauseous. So
yeah, definitely a PA system, but not a PDA system.
No,
against it.
No. And we can already tell like who's the alpha male here. It's definitely the swamp monster because he has no feelings. And I love it too because they like start hugging more to like get thrown out, and then I love the two little mammals. They're like, "Hey, look, we're hugging down here."
The most Muppet moment of the show.
Yeah. And then
this makes me think that they should make therapy available for men. You know?
I don't know.
They call it dude talk therapy for men.
Yeah. It can be like the people who made Dude Wipes can make Dude Talk.
Oh my god. Okay, so Dude Wipes. Dude
Wipes.
We use like the butt wipes because we are now upper class, and they didn't have the type that we usually get, and so Sarah got Dude Wipes, and it's now just a joke. But also, Dude Wipes is like wiping your butt with like a fucking comforter. It's like this big. Like imagine using an entire bandana to go to the bathroom, and I'm like. It covers like my entire head and like hangs over. I'm like, what is this? Like, are you like that insecure where you can't touch your own butthole? Like it's so weird.
That's why they're called
I right before COVID-19, I bought a bidet attachment for our toilet.
Smart.
It was unrelated. I was just like, I'm ready for a bidet, and I got that. And I also bought like a 24-pack of toilet paper the same day. And that I still have it, I feel like.
Just in case.
Yeah. So I got very lucky there. And now when I'm at places where I don't have a bidet, I'm just like, pish posh. What is this?
Do you put your hand in the water and try to like, sprinkle some on your butt?
The water's already soiled. I just hope they have a shower. That's what I do.
Speaking of which, Earl
Stompers.
Earl comes out of the shower, and he's taken 10 showers when they get home.
Oh yeah, because they got so mushy, they got thrown up.
Yeah.
Charlene addresses him as like, "Oh, you take another shower?" He's like, "Yep, just 10 more to go."
And I actually like when baby's like, you got spit up? He's like, "Yep."
And then he just asks Robbie also, "You get spit up too?" "Yep."
Yeah. And he's like, "Did you bring me a present?"
It's like visiting. I guess he saw that as a vacation moment.
Yeah. He has no concept of time. We've established this. And
he's a COVID-19 baby.
Yeah. And then Fran presents dinner, and it's fruit, and it's meat and vegetables.
So is she bringing out like a bunch of fucking gay sex? Like this is literally the pinnacle of the metaphor being fucked. It's like, did she bring weed to the table? Did she bring like? It's bizarre. Like I don't know. I know metaphors. Like I've read Shakespeare. Like, I understand that. I understand that the form could be loose. It's so confusing.
Yeah, but it ends on a good note where Earl's like, "Oh, I realize my kids are smart enough to think for themselves," and everyone's happy.
Everyone's what?
Everyone's happy. I burped.
Yeah, everyone's happy. It's I don't know. It's a very weird episode for sure. It's not a very special episode.
I think it is, but they took all the tropes from every very special episode and just put it into one thing. Like,
I didn't even think about the concept of them being aware. That's different.
I think it's just that like what was it you or Woody that made the point where they were just like, we need you to do this episode, but you have to like tone it down. Like maybe
I think it was Woody.
Yeah, maybe ABC did tell them to tone it down, and because of that, they were just like, "Fuck it, let's just like put all this shit in it, like just to be weird." Something I don't know.
It's possible because I watched like behind the scenes, and they had a very moderate type approach where they were just like, the way they saw it is they were intentionally fucking with everyone. The same way that any centrist puts it, where they're just like, we didn't care whether you're this or that, we're just like throwing shit at the wall. And it probably was a bit of that. Like they were just like, because the whole conceit is that it's also a parody of sitcoms.
Yeah, I could understand why, Woody, you would be like confused maybe because you didn't like. I've watched. This is my third time watching this whole like series. So like.
I don't understand it like that.
So like, I kind of like I already have this like I already have a feel for the show. Like I could usually tell what they're going for, but I don't know. It's interesting though to hear your perspective, like to where you're just like you don't know what's going on, you know.
Like I think if I actually like watched it more and was like somewhat invested, it would be a little bit different. But like. I watched it and I was just like, okay, this is an episode about the son maybe being gay. And I was like, okay, maybe it's about the son being vegetarian because I'm making a lot of jokes about like getting with dino girls. And then I was like, nope, it's drug episode. Okay, we're talking about drugs now. And then it's like, well, they're talking about like he's, you know what? I'm gonna keep watching it and see what happens. And then like, oh, he got eaten by a dinosaur. Yeah. So I don't really know like where this goes from now. Also, not enough baby. I didn't hear Not the Mama said at all.
Yeah, this was a very Not the Mama-less episode.
Yeah.
I tuned in to ABC to watch this show, to watch the baby. The baby was not on it, and I'm pretty mad.
So you're Grandma Ethel. You wrote some letters.
I am. I would have been like, there's not enough baby, too much of the dad. Also, I could use more grandma. I could use more grandma in my monitor, and I need more baby in my life. And that's
there's no snare in my headphones.
I agree. I like Ethel as well because she's like the only like sane character in the whole. Besides like Robbie, maybe she's like she like gets it. She knows what's going on.
I feel like I'm more of a Charlene as a person than I want to be. Want to be a Robbie and a Charlene.
Is there going to be a BuzzFeed like which Dinosaurs fan member are you today?
Probably.
Just like a weird millennial BuzzFeed quiz about it.
I'll make it later today.
We're just like, what Harry Potter house are all the characters of ABC's Dinosaurs?
Hold on, let me at least get my pencil out so I can start writing this down. Oh God. I have recently I've been working on a fanfic in which Roy, which is Earl's best friend at work, Roy and Earl hook up, and
you lost me at fanfiction, and now I wish I could delete your
Well, look at the webcam.
Like
look at the webcam. I'm already working on the art. These are our t-shirts we're going to sell. It's going to say, honey, I'm homo. Or maybe honey on Herbo.
Herbo, yeah.
Why was I programmed to feel pain? What? I like the fact that there's also art for the fan fiction to go along with it. Hurts me deep to my soul. Like,
is there a snake in your boot? All right.
Well, this was fun for about 10 minutes, everybody. The last hour and change, I won't get back. I could have went for a walk, and I didn't. And I said I talked about an episode that may or may not have been about a gay son.
I don't even know if it existed in reality. Me and Tim put this together.
What's really weird is like I watched this this afternoon, and I feel like I never stopped watching it, and I feel like it's just been like in front of me, and it's weird. Also, it was stressful because I felt like I was preparing like for a test. Where like they were gonna be like, you're like, you didn't really watch the episode, did you? And like I was gonna get like called out on a podcast, and just like, yeah, just fucking put it up, just
gotcha moment.
Just show the world what kind of fraud he is, and that's why I had notes in front of me, and I took diligent notes.
Good.
Like I was trying to watch like an anime before I go to a convention. Like I'm paranoid they're gonna call me out. Like, oh, name 5 characters. And when you started calling the dinosaur characters their names, I was like, oh shit, these people do have names. And I was like,
it is complicated.
There's not the mama. There's the mom, the dad, the boss, and then apparently there's grandma, which I didn't know about until she walked on screen. And then Woody, she is in a wheelchair. Okay.
Your ableism has reached a peak.
I am so mad at all of this that it like I can't even see straight. Like this like also
that's good because it's a gay episode.
It's not though. It was never actually confirmed.
No, we don't really know what.
It's metrosexual.
Until we have like the director and the writer come and be guests on this show, we'll never know what it is actually about.
They're dead. They're almost all dead. I swear to God.
All dead?
It is not all of them, but there are a lot of. This is gonna be offensive to the ones that are alive, but a lot of them are dead or working on Raven's new show. Like it's a bizarre, like the guy Stephen Banks I mentioned earlier, who was the Bob Dylan impersonator. His main body of work is Jimmy Neutron and spinoffs of Jimmy Neutron.
Whoa, ew! Like,
but his
the Carl Weezer Blue record. It's just Carl Weezer singing the hits of Weezer.
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah, that the best thing about that Stephen Banks character that I researched is I watched his show and it starts with like. It's 1989. It starts with Penn and Teller doing an intro for it, and they look young as fuck. Like it's before they started yelling and being like Teller was still silent, but Penn wasn't yelling yet. and then it starts with them introing it, and then it cuts to this guy's like studio apartment, and he's like in an undone tie, like looks like he just got off work, and going around chanting his own last name, shouting Banks, Banks, Banks. Then he grabs a ukulele and he takes a swinging armed Luxo Pixar lamp and faces at himself as a spotlight and sings a song about how he likes Bruce Springsteen, he likes The Who, he likes Bob Dylan, at least when he was a Jew, he likes Costello and the other Elvis too, but he hates Hitler. It was
he got there
just to bring back to that. Yeah, he was like, I hate Hitler and I hate Charles Manson too. It was, I gotta say, that's the real takeaway from this episode is the Bob Dylan impersonator had a bomb-ass 1989 PBS show that tanked. And it's on YouTube and I'm gonna watch the fuck out of it.
All right. Well, I don't really...
Wait, you don't have more? I have plenty.
I don't really have any more thoughts on this episode. I thought it was funny, but that's just me.
I would say this episode, like I said about like the writers, there's a lot of like people analyze episodes in a weird way. Like you'll see a lot of people talk about The Office and they'll be like, Jim is this character who abuses an autistic character and like they just make assumptions about there's like, I'm just going to decide Dwight has autism. I'm going to decide that Jim is a narcissist. And it's this thing, it's like, you understand how shows are made, right? Like, it's a group of like 20 people writing it. And like, it's more just like this is the writer's third episode. The previous two being about bucking traditions. I assume he was just trying to make parables in the eyes of like if they were dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So there's less meat, to use a word that's fond in this episode. There's less meat on the bone than they're really like than we're gonna make it out to be.
Young Male Carnivores Association.
Just really phoned in that possible really good joke. And it was just, man. What is also a C word? I don't know. Carnivore? Sure.
C word vessel. See, okay, so Fran is played by Lucille Bluth from Arrested Development. Which is the best thing, because when you said another C word, I immediately think of an Arrested Development where they have a boat they call the C word because it's a C word vessel. And they say, like, we need to get the C word out of here. And Lucille Bluth's just like, I'm not going anywhere. Oh, God. So, yeah. So, let's, I was going to bring up something. Hey, Woody, did you go on tour with Paranoia Dance Party?
Many times.
Okay, so you played with us in Cincinnati, I assume, at like Cup and Saucer, I feel like the bar was called.
That sounds right. Was that the show where like it got really weird? Where there was like...
was it double booked?
I think so, because I feel like I've had zero good interactions in Ohio.
Good.
And so, like show-wise. And we played, it was the first PDP tour, and like we played in Cincinnati, and I remember just like a really like awkward almost fight broke out where someone like moshed really way too hard into like our merch table.
Oh, there was like was it like an older guy? Like
I think so.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
This guy also launched at me like he was gonna beat the shit out of me randomly. Like he like made eye contact with me, like mouthed something, and I said what, and then he like charged at me, and then the bartender like met him mid lurch or whatever and like grabbed him and took him out. I feel like that was the show, because that was my friend's uncle's bar, and I believe you guys stayed at my friend's uncle's house.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I've like my luck with shows in Ohio in general has just been maybe zero.
Hey Brian, come here.
What's happening, Jeff?
I got some of this cool some cabbage that I got from my older brother.
Cabbage? Isn't that stuff illegal?
I mean, don't be a square, man. We should just, we should hang out after school today. Maybe like do a little cabbage. Maybe hold hands,
Hold hands. I'm not like some kind of herbo. Hey kids, are you trying to do some cabbage over here?
No, man, leave us alone.
I swear.
I don't need to hear your excuses, kids. I just need you to hear my rap song about why you shouldn't mess with vegetables.
Oh God, no.
I need somebody to
Please don't
give
rap.
me a beatbox.
No, thank you.
Hey, I'll help you out, brother. Thanks, random guy. All right. This is fresh. Not unlike those salads, huh? Okay, you might think that it's okay to try some fresh salad, but I am here to tell you kids something that'll flip your lid. Vegetables are bad for you. They do weird stuff to your head. I knew a guy who had some carrots once and immediately dropped dead. I know it seems really cool to eat broccoli with some teens, but I'm telling you, home slice, stay away from all those greens. A hip, a hop, a don't stop, a ribbity rap band, a bibbity bop. If I see you with some lettuce, and I'm calling a cop, like a triceracop or something like that. Like that's a dinosaur cop. That's like a pun. All right, just say no.
And I thought that eating vegetables was like a metaphor for being gay or something. Okay.
So do you watch the movie Band Slam by Disney and just like fucking scream?
Nope. I'm assuming that's like a marching band thing.
Band Slam? No, it's a movie about ska where they have No, for real. Band Slam 2007. It's a movie about a ska band starring Vanessa Hudgens.
Is it really?
It's yes. Did you guys not know about this?
No.
Disney made a ska. It has like fucking Phoebe from Friends in it. It's fucking.
You're right.
Lisa Kudrow, Vanessa Hudgens, and Ali Michalka or whatever from like she was in Phil of the Future. There was a scene in it where the guy's describing ska and he's like, it's like they took reggae and made it their own, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, that's not the fucking history. Like,
why didn't they call it?
I got so mad.
Band Slam, however, just like third wave ska, was a box office failure.
Oh yeah. What did they expect?
The budget was $20 million, and they box office grossed $12 million.
It was a movie with High School Musical cast members about ska. It was so weird. I remember being on like 8 different ska forums when this came out, and everyone just being like shitting on it.
I am remembering this now. I forgot all about this, and this is making me really mad because also, fun fact, this is also David Bowie's last film appearance.
He was in that movie?
It was what?
This was David Bowie's last appearance in a film, was Band Slam.
That's hilarious.
He's in the ska movie?
In the ska movie.
I didn't even know he was in it, and I've seen it. I've seen this movie.
That's fucking weird.
That's embarrassing.
They should have made this.
As someone who's like career ska, like that's pretty embarrassing.
They should have made the movie like 10 years before. Like, why did they make it in 2007?
It's the same every time there's like a viral video with ska being the focus. I'm like, did they make this for me? Like, who is this for? There was like the College Humor had a video like 10 years ago that was like too many ska horns.
That's genuinely one of the funnier videos I've seen in a long time.
Exactly.
Just lower the damn horns.
Yeah. And just like chain wallets and meet me at the bowling alley.
My favorite is just how the horns, they get more and more busy. Just
yeah. Yeah, he shouts like guitar solo and the trumpet comes in like ba 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 ba.
Which has happened to my bands a lot when I was younger. Just guitar solo. Just trombone just plays over it.
Yeah, it's hard being a trombone player on stage after they banned smoking in venues. I didn't know what to do with myself when there wasn't trombone. The best thing though about being a horn player is when you don't remember a part or you're not confident about it, nobody knows it was supposed to be there, so you can just fucking stand there.
Yep, all you got, make the same mistake twice or just don't make a mistake.
Yeah, you can just pretend that your fucking trombone's a guitar and just like pretend you're playing it. Go out and mosh. Like, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. They didn't want to hear you to begin with. I would like bang the shit out of my trombone into like the cymbals all the time, and then I would take it to this like old. He looked like the guy who fixed the toys in Toy Story 2. I would take it to this guy, and he would like look at the trombone and be like, "What did you do to her? What did you do?"
I was
like, lit it on fire.
I had a $500 car, and like I bought it from my mechanic, and then like I just had a very unfortunate like rear end accident, and then I brought it, and he goes, "What did you do to her?" And I was like, "Dude, it was $500. It's a $500 Ford Probe, like
$500 car. Come on,
like $500. It was a Ford Probe. You sold it to me. It's no longer your car. This was my mistake only. This is no longer our mistake. It was my mistake, and now I'm out of a car." And that was But he was just like, "What did you do?" I'm like, "I didn't brake in time. That's what happens." Whoopsies. Like, sue me before the driver does.
So,
Jesus. Do you want to outro this episode, Tim?
Yeah.
I could tell that you were yawning. I knew you were going to ring it in.
It's almost,
so this is all just in the back half of the episode?
Yeah, who knows? But I just want to...
Sorry, everybody.
No, Ben did the same thing with V, so don't worry. In fact, there's an extended section of the episode of V where it's just Ben and V talking to each other. Well, Woody, is there anything that you want to plug? Like... Any of your
mustard?
Your mustard.
I've got nothing going on. If you live in, when is this gonna air? Or I guess get posted?
Like 5 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Right before the election. So who you voting for?
Hey, you know what I just saw?
I
saw.
I don't want to talk about politics in this podcast.
I saw that Kanye is on the ballot in Kentucky.
Yeah, my sister just sent me a screenshot. I have a mail-in ballot from Kentucky coming in the mail soon, and my sister just sent me a picture of her ballot from Kentucky.
You can vote for Kanye.
Are you gonna vote twice?
Well, if I can pull off the registration time, yeah. Like I'll vote in 2 red states. Like, I'm from Kentucky and I'm in Louisiana.
We're gonna commit some voter fraud. But yeah, if you have anything coming up, Woody.
Things that are coming up. The new Jer single, our Edgelord, came out a few weeks ago on Bad Time Records. It's streaming on Spotify and YouTube and all that jazz. Awesome. If you are up to seeing a live performance, if you live in Tampa, November 1st through December 6th, I will be at the Strat Center in Tampa doing a musical called Always Patsy Cline.
Cool.
We're doing a socially distant version of it. Theater's at a third capacity. Band spaced out on stage. We're only doing table tickets purchased at one time.
Yeah.
So doing that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday through November, the first week of December, and that's like my first actual show since March. since the show I played with Portrayal of Guilt, and then the show I saw you at.
Yeah.
But there are things coming out that I don't know if I can formally announce because I have not been given the okay, but I have recorded a lot of things, and there are things that are coming out that my name is on. So, yeah, that was ambiguous like this whole stupid episode. So, things I may will be coming out if you're in Tampa, Patsy Cline, or always Patsy Cline at the Straz Center.
Cool. Cool. I got nothing to plug. Just our podcast. You can follow us, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. We're on Facebook,
on YouTube.
Yeah, we're on.
It's all a dinosaur's tale.
Yeah, and
are we shouting out Instagram handles?
Oh, what are your handles? If you wanna give out handles. If you want to give out your personal Twitter, go ahead.
I will not do that. I will, however, give you my public Instagram. It is Elwood Bond.
Right.
And then if you're also on those TikToks, also Elwood Bond.
So do you ever get jokes like Elle Woods is the character from Legally Blonde, right?
I think I've gotten that one time.
That's good because I like that movie.
I think it was a friend of mine from UT who loves Legally Blonde said that, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that was even a thing, and then we never talked about it ever since. But that was the only time I've heard of. I just think of James Woods, who I know is not Elle Woods, or I think of James L. Brooks. James L. Brooks. I know it's all wrong.
James Woods is as Hades from Hercules, and then awful. That's it. Great role. Everything else about him sucks.
Yeah. So that's all we got.
We're gonna say thank you to Scotttoon Network for recording our theme song.
Shout out to Scotttoon Network.
Hell yeah, Care Bear Stare. And then thank you to my friend Amy Shenanigans for drawing cute pictures of me and Tim for the logo. And thank you to Zach George for taking time away from being a good father and a good husband to edit our podcast. It seems like a really bad choice on his part.
He loves it.
But I'm not judging him.
He loves it.
Yeah, he loves it. He's a masochist. We discussed this. And then before we leave, I found a review of this episode that I can read for everyone.
Okay.
So here's a review I found on the TVDB, which is clearly they got pissed about IMDb and just took it over, made their own. So here's the review of this episode. So we didn't need to do what we just did was pointless because there was already a review. It's wild. It's been 30 years since the release and there was already a review. So Earl signs Robbie into a carnivore celebration festival, but Robbie is very outraged that his father putted him in that festival when he never told his family that he actually was an herbivore. When Fran and Earl find out that he is, they become sad with tears, which left Earl no choice but to find Robbie and to teach him about the basic food chain, life, and the food life. Which is that like MF Doom? Without knowing, with Mist and a Hue monster is their way. Robbie is eaten. Earl returns home to tell Fran about the tragedy, but Fran demands Earl to go back and save Robbie from the monster. Earl and Fran return to the misty forest where Robbie was eaten. Fran later told the monster that popped up to eat Earl. Earl enters the stomach of the monster, and the argument between the father and son begins, until Earl realizes that he is smart enough to let his son Robbie eat whatever he wants. With a hug, the monster who talks says, "Cut it out." Then Earl and Robbie have the smartest plan to get out of the monster's body with. And then it ends. It just ends there. So,
they ran out of characters. Yeah. They ran out of characters.
It was a tweet. So, yeah, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode of whatever this podcast is called. I think it's Serial. Are we Serial? So, what is it, Tim?
We are Sinclairity, A Dinosaur's Tale.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we are. We're... So, thanks for tuning in this week. I hope that you will come back next week where we won't have Woody, so sorry about that part.
Sorry, Poochie died on the way back to his home.
So, yeah, have a great extinction.
Yes, goodbye.
Bye.